Hi there, I'm Don.
And hi, I'm Cindy, and welcome to Pearls of Liberty, July 20th, 2013. Hey, we're almost to Christmas in July, right? July 25th.
Okay, whatever.
Maybe something really good will happen this month. Wouldn't that be amazing? The public versus private dialectic, or money as part of the commons.
This is huge, and I don't know. It's not news, but it's deep analysis. And if you like, as I do, to get to the bottom of things and understand what's really going on, this guy, I am quite impressed. I found this blog just this past week, and I love it. The guy is a clear thinker with deep understanding about the nature of money and dialectics in the public versus private. That's also very deep. The whole concept. Okay, what's going on here? We've got these big ideas being floated around here. One of the common ideas that I have to say is headed in the right direction, but is easily diverted into the pockets of the money changers, is the whole idea of gold is real money and nothing else is, and well, maybe silver is kind of almost money, but the real money is gold, and the whole Austrian school about gold that way. And I tell you, people that have fallen for that hook, line, and sinker have fallen right into the trap that has been laid for us by the money changers. They have instituted all of this fiat money in order to buy up all the real commodities, including gold, so that when our system went bust, the fiat system, we would demand gold, and then, guess who's got all the gold? So that's an obvious con. These guys are masters at the long con. So they've set all that up. Now, in order to get past that trap, you have to think about what really is money, and it's anything that has real value. And fortunately, I think that we've got some really, really smart people at the top of many countries' economic systems that have seen through the Rothschild, Rockefeller, J.P. Morgan, Chase, all that, that the banking cabal deception, and they're beginning to set up with Basel III a new monetary system that is not just based on gold as the only real asset, but lots of real assets, including the labor force, etc. So it's a thrill to understand somebody who understands this. I say kind of in the vein of Bill Still, who understands these things wonderfully. He put out the film The Money Masters and Secret of Oz. So this is a man named, gosh, what's his name? I can't remember. There's his picture right there, Anthony Mitchells, and he's in the Netherlands, and he developed a local currency that's being used there, and obviously this guy understands his stuff. So it's a very interesting blog, the whole idea of public versus private. Another blog I read, I think he might have keyed off of it, called the public versus public dialectic, was pulled in by Henry Macau, and that was not written by Henry, but by somebody else. And anyway, really interesting ideas. I've been thinking a lot of public versus private stuff, and thinking that that's a key to a lot of things. But hey, maybe it really is just another dialectic, another way of dividing us. So there's some big ideas here, and I'm excited about finding this guy, and I encourage you to read him if you want to understand what really money really is about, so that we're not hoodwinked again. And the plan is for us to be hoodwinked, and I don't want to fall into line. I hope you don't either.
Well, the value of paper currency is really what those who are using it agree that it is. So, and to some extent, that is how all exchanges are valued. Just a lot of it is based on trust, isn't it?
Well, yeah, but when the government has a total monopoly on it and says that this goes to legal tender laws and says that nothing else is legal tender, then you have a tyranny of force that says that you must use this because anything else isn't real money. That's where you have anti-freedom stuff entering in. You really need to be able to have what Ron Paul called competing currencies, but that's a misnomer. And it's a good idea, but what really happens in practice is when you have a government that's big enough, whatever the government accepts as payment of taxes becomes the de facto currency. But so the key is getting government small enough that that has less and less impact, and you take away the idea of force from of government enforcing a certain currency, making it anything else illegal, which is tyrannical on the face of it. But really, people only think that something has value because the government says it has value, and the reason the government can do that is because they have the guns. So we've got to realize that that's what's really been going on here. That's what gives paper its real value, is the enforcement of the government to say that is the way it is. But hey, let's be free and get out of that trap.
Well, if government uses an objective standard, and I'm thinking about King John with the tally sticks, just not too long after the Magna Carta was instituted. If there's an objective exchange unit like the tally sticks that can't be manipulated, then it's not as much of a threat when it's controlled by the government, because it wasn't, tally sticks weren't really controlled by the government at that time. It's just that King John accepted tally sticks, acknowledged tally sticks for the payment of taxes. So that's how that system came into prominence.
Yeah, I'm not saying that you can't have a benevolent leader and have a widely recognized system that's beneficial, that all the people share. That's pretty much the ideal. But whenever you get government force and thugs that have to enforce a certain way of doing things because anything else is treason, well, that's when you've lost it. And hey, we're there.
And there is an effort ongoing right now to prevent the bankers from having just free reign over the monetary system. These 21st century Glass-Steagall Act in the Senate, and there's a corresponding House bill, Return to Prudent Banking Act of 2013. These people are making an effort to reinstitute Glass-Steagall, which has a long and colorful history. But this would help to rein in the banking system, and thereby it would make our currency safer and more stable, wouldn't it?
Absolutely. It was really through deception in the 90s that the bankers got rid of it. And this was, of course, knowingly agreed to by Bill Clinton, who is a master globalist, trained by the best of them, a Rhodes Scholar, all that. And Alan Greenspan at the head of the Federal Reserve say, oh, let's deregulate. So they actually, tried it a few times before. They keep all these things really low profile, and they finally did it in 1999, and they got rid of Glass-Steagall. Well, what is Glass-Steagall? What it does is it puts a wall between banks that can lend for businesses and to the public, and speculative investment banks such as brokerage houses. So in the past, before the late 90s, you couldn't have both banks and brokerage houses. Now they're all mixed, and this is bad, and this was what exactly led to the crash in 2008, was over-leveraged banks. Where do you get the leverage? The leverage comes from the brokerage houses dealing in derivatives. Well, they reintroduced by doing that, the stability was lost and instability came back. And instability in the American banking system was actually the norm before Glass-Steagall in the 1930s. So that was the Banking Act after the Great Depression that stabilized the banking system and enabled America to build a long reign of prosperity. Not that there weren't booms and busts, because we still had the Federal Reserve. I'm not saying that Glass-Steagall is the absolute cure-all, because there's still the Federal Reserve that needs to be done away with, but this is definitely a step in the right direction, and ultimately I believe we will be able to get rid of the Federal Reserve as well. So deregulation, pure and simple, is not the answer, because then you're going to have banks and brokerage houses creating these financial instruments that put the whole banking system in jeopardy. And really, it's just a matter of ethics, and that's what laws are supposed to be about. So I am not under the illusion that you should just let the free market decide, and because you're going to have a lot of people that lose their shirts in the process, and that's a bad thing. So yay, Glass-Steagall, and kudos to Elizabeth Warren and even to John McCain for sponsoring this. I don't know what, I have zero respect for John McCain, but I am glad that for whatever reason he's involved in helping promote this thing, and I say just let's get it done.
So yeah, Elizabeth Warren is the one who's really out beating the drum about this, and in the House, Marcy Kaptur is one of the sponsors. I guess she introduced it. So Return to Prudent Banking Act. So yeah, if you are in these people's states, districts, might be appropriate to give them a little encouragement if you agree with us that this is a positive move. And when you say regulation, that doesn't sound like a traditional libertarian value, but
right, and that's why that's the reason I said the things that I did about the Federal Reserve. Hey, people like me have been saying forever that the Federal Reserve is the real problem and Glass-Steagall is just a band-aid. Well, so I'm modifying my song just a little bit, because we still need to get rid of the Federal Reserve, but in order to keep the economy afloat until that's done, and in order to pave the way for a new system that's going to be built in the absence of the Federal Reserve, we do need a foundation like Glass-Steagall that separates banks from brokerage houses. It's just really ethical business. That's really all it is.
And John Rappaport, true to form, has written a great blog, the Covert op called Democracy, Perverse Poetry and Sentimental Music.
Okay, it's really, really important for people to understand the difference between a republic and a democracy. And I'm convinced at this point that people that even know that America was founded as a republic and that we've lost that and we need to get back to a republic don't really understand just how different a republic is from a democracy. And John Rappaport, in this brilliant blog, I love John Rappaport, he really makes it crystal clear that democracy is a psyop. All it is herding people, and you get the few people that are the master herders that are able to grab the reins in the media and form people into groups and pit them off against one another and make it all about causes and about rights, and that just, if you understand what a republic is, that is so against what a republic is all about. A republic is all about individual liberty, and you don't have to put people in blocks because everyone's rights are protected. The government is not the great arbiter trying to play the referee between these different groups. And whenever you get in that situation that we've got now, what you really get is master puppeteers being the real ones in charge. This whole thing of democracy is it's a sham. It's a sham that leads into oligarchy, and John makes that wonderfully clear in his blog here.
And the great governments of the past that we look to have been, most of them have been republics, like Greek and Greece and Rome had republics, not democracies.
It's because, and the reason we think of them as being great is because the liberty that is allowed or made possible in such types of governments allows the giftings of the God-given gifts of people to rise to the top and for great achievements to bless all of the people. Whenever you get democracy and an oligarchy, then you get a group that is trying to live at the expense of people, and they turn that creativity into a slave mill that just it makes them rich and at the expense of everyone else. So it really is the maximization of individual liberty that leads to truly free societies and times of renaissance that we all want to live in.
I think it's unfortunate, and this is probably, you'll probably say this is contrived, but the fact that we have the two political parties that are called Democrat and Republican, that there's kind of an implication or kind of a vibe that the Democrats are populist and the Republicans are elitist. And this, I think that really confuses the issue in people's minds as to what is a democracy and what is a republic.
Yeah, I think it absolutely does confuse people, and I think that's on purpose. And the idea of America being a republic has been largely lost due to purposeful neglect of our educational system. And yeah, Democrats want to be the populace. That's their heritage, and I'm not saying that there's not a role for populism in a republic, but the Republicans, yeah, have been the Rockefellers that were active in politics earlier in the 20th century, etc. Yeah, that's the Republican image is of the money power, but really. Yeah, when you realize that democracy is as much of a control, a democracy as a system is a control game every bit as much as any centralized control, autocratic, authoritarian society, then you'll understand. It's really a shell game, like John points out here, not a shell game, a con game, to think that democracy really is for the people. You need continuous psyops to convince people that they're a part of this group and they're getting some benefit at the expense of other people, and know or think that we're all better. One part of this blog that I absolutely loved was when John talks about when he was a young man, probably early teens, that his parents took him to hear Hubert Humphrey, and he said the guy was a master at the top of his game, and if you're in my generation or close, you'll remember Hubert Humphrey as being a brilliant articulator of the how government could fight for the little guy, and basically what all Democrats really want to stand for, people in the Democratic Party. And John Rappaport didn't want to go, but was so in awe of after hearing this man that he said he was conned for 10 years after that. And that's exactly the kind of thing we're talking about here.
Do you have anything that you would like to add just generally about any of the topics that we discussed?
Oh, people need to think for themselves. I mean, yeah, just start digging. There's a lot of great voices out there, and once you begin to think through the ideas using your own intellect, you'll come out with your own voice. So although we might hold up people like John Rappaport that we just really admire, it's so essential to compare people with different ideas and come out with your own views.
So enjoy doing that, maybe some of the rest of the weekend in between relaxing and the wonderful weekend that we wish for you. And we thank you for joining us for this week's Pearls of Liberty.
And as always, we encourage you to see the world the way that it really is. See yourself in it. Walk your walk. You are the one you've been waiting for.